Shalom everybody, welcome to the Israel Brief, where you join me, Rolene Marks, every Monday to Thursday for your top stories making headlines across Israel. And as always, the Israel Brief is brought to you by Lay of the Land. One wrong move. Now those are fighting words, and you can better believe that they are. This was the headline accompanied with a map of Israel that was featured in the Tehran Times this morning. Now this publication is the mouthpiece for the Iranian government, and they have published a story about what could go wrong at the nuclear talks that are being held this week in Vienna, Austria. They showed quite explicitly where the targets all over Israel are, and they're from the north to the south, the east to the west, and also encompass some parts of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and include Jerusalem, which includes the Al-Aqsa Mosque, one of the holy sites for the Muslim religion. Now, this was not just published in the newspaper, it was also tweeted across social media, and many of us have challenged Twitter, asking why they will allow for not just a threat, but an explicit call for genocide against the Jewish state to be flouted so freely. In the meantime, both Israel and the United States are preparing advanced preparations with military options should the talks fail. In other news, the government and health ministry announced last night that from Friday, Israelis will have to show their green passport, or Tav Yarok as it is called here in Israel, to security at the malls if they want to enter. So the rules will be as follows. If you have received your vaccines, and of course including your booster shot, and do have an up-to-date Tav Yarok, you will present it to the security guard, who will then give you a bracelet that will allow you access to the mall for a day. Now, if you are not vaccinated and wish to enter the mall, you will not receive a bracelet and will be restricted to only being allowed to enter pharmacies or grocery shops within the mall. This is part of a plan to try and get as many Israelis vaccinated as possible. This is part of the government's campaign to try and ensure that before we open up our borders for international travel, we have as many Israelis who have received all their vaccines as soon as possible. Meanwhile, according to today's latest statistics, our serious cases do continue to drop. Hamas's armed wing, the Izzeddin al-Qassam, have been preparing drills across parts of the Gaza Strip today. Called the Shield of Jerusalem, these drills are designed in order to ensure that Izzeddin al-Qassam have military capability and are prepared for any scenario. Bursts of fire and explosions could be heard coming from within the strip. Now, it's important to note that while we are hearing news that Hamas is doing or preparing these kind of drills, Hamas remain an Iranian-sponsored proxy, and it is Iranian money that ensures that Hamas are able to carry out deadly attacks against the state of Israel. And our final story stays within the Gaza Strip, but this time it's a feel-good story. 11-year-old Mazen, a boy from the Gaza Strip, becomes the 6,000th child to receive life-saving heart surgery from Save a Child's Heart, an Israeli-based NGO that provides life-saving heart surgery for children all over the world, including those from countries where we do not have bilateral ties or diplomatic relations at all. 50% of the children who receive this life-saving surgery come from Gaza and the West Bank, and in the past have come from countries across Europe, Africa, and other parts of the world where these surgeries are not available. Save a Child's Heart, and I really urge you to check them out online, is really one of the most exceptional organizations inside Israel and have been lauded by the United Nations for their phenomenal humanitarian work. So those are the top stories making headlines. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, our Facebook page at Lottle's site. Please don't forget to like us, follow us, share our content. We are on YouTube. You can find us at The Israel Brief, and we would love it if you click that subscribe button so that we can get as much news from Israel as possible to as many people as possible. And please consider liking and sharing our content. And we are also on Twitter, where you can interact with us at Lay of the Land or with the digit 5. So with today's edition of the Israel Brief, I'm Rolene Marks, and check in with me again tomorrow for your top stories.